Hello, folks. Thank you for being with us today. And for all our colleagues, we are Facebook Live and we're streaming to all the stations. First, I want to introduce you to this wonderful team of folks. They, along with others, are the reason we had a remarkably successful operation called Autumn Sweep. We were joined by One More Child, Heartland for Children, DCF, Lake Wells Police, Davenport Police, Clearmont Police, Auburndale Police, St. Cloud Police, Winter Haven Fire Rescue, Lakeland Police, Haines City Police, Winter Haven Police, Haines City Police, Marion County Sheriff's Office, Lake County Sheriff's Office, Tampa Police, and the State Attorney's Office. Now, also speaking today will be Captain Ty Thompson from Lakeland, Chief Parker from Davenport, Chief Velasquez from Lake Wells, Joni Domingue from One More Child, Cadian Parchment from Heartland for Children. I'm going to give a brief overview of what occurred, and then we're going to focus on a couple of topics. We focus on going after the human trafficking operations, and we understand that there are live victims that we're trying to rescue every day. And then we culminate with an operation such as this with our partners. And the only reason we can be successful is because of the number of partners that we have. This operation began on October 2nd, and it only lasted 5 days because of the hurricane. So we had to cut it off early, and despite that, we made 157 arrests, 47 prostitutes, 96 johns, and 14 for a variety of other charges. We arrested one for human trafficking. Usually it's remarkably difficult to find the human trafficker, but we did this time. We also rescued 4 potential victims of human trafficking that admitted it up front. Now, our wonderful NGOs that are here today will follow up with all of these people, because after creating a relationship and partnership, usually they identify others who, once they become accustomed to the NGOs and see that they're there to help them, may also be noticed. But we are excited that we were able to rescue 4 potential victims of human trafficking. Now, this is such a popular thing in Florida. You know, you come to Florida on vacation. A lot of people want to leave on probation, and this time was was not different than any other time. People came from 9 other states in order to be arrested in Polk County, Florida. I take that as a great compliment. They were from California, New York, Nevada, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Kentucky, Wisconsin, Georgia, Arizona, and one came to us all the way from the UK. So I don't know how our jails and lockups compare to the UK, but we have a subject matter expert now. 26 of those were married. The youngest John we arrested was 15, the oldest one was 61. We added 35 new felony charges and 201 misdemeanor charges as a result of this operation. What's interesting is that there were 327 prior felony charges that had been filed against these people. So we weren't dealing with a lot of people who just stumbled in by mistake. And there were 455 prior misdemeanor charges filed against these people. Now, these that we arrested, some of the charges included 2 counts of homicide, that are 2 people charged with homicide. Apparently those were null prost in the process, vehicle homicide, kidnapping, robbery, and a sundry of other charges. So there were some very bad people that we arrested. Now, for just a moment, I want to focus on what I think is a huge concern, and that huge concern is those that came here illegally. So I'm going to roll out a couple of things for you. First, I want you to see this chart. 25 illegal immigrants were arrested in this operation. They were from Venezuela, Cuba, Colombia, Guatemala, Honduras, and Mexico. 16% of these total arrests were people who should not even have been in this country, but they were here. And they were here because we have a federal government that enabled these criminals to come into the country and then treated them very well after the criminals came here illegally. So let me share a story with you, and then I'm going to read a quote for you and then let you see a video. The prostitutes that came here, several of them had to pay off a coyote debt. Some of them said, hey, we did it because it was easy money. Others said, well, we came here and we were illegal, we couldn't get employment, so we turned to prostitution. Some of them said, we were threatened and our family was threatened if we did not prostitute for the coyotes or for the human traffickers. So I'm going to tell you one story about one of our suspects, Maria, and that's not her real name. She's from Venezuela. She made a conscious decision to come to this country to commit crime. She flew into Mexico from Venezuela. She walked across from Juarez, Mexico into El Paso, Texas with her one-year-old child, where she was greeted by the Border Patrol. Did you hear what I said? She was greeted by the Border Patrol. There was no sneaking. She flew in, she got here, she simply walked across the open border. There is no border security at the southern border. Zero. It doesn't exist. So when she was greeted, and you'll understand why we use that term in a minute, you'll understand that she went to the Border Patrol processing, where in one day she completed the processing and was released to a facility, a holding facility, a housing facility for immigrants. She said, I was given a DNA test to make sure that my DNA matched my child's. He was given a DEA test to make sure he was really my child. She said, once that occurred, they set me down and they told me all about the benefits that I would get in the United States. She said I was eligible and I had to fill out these forms so that I could get those benefits. She said, so I fill forms out for Medicaid, for SNAP, which is money for food. She said I was given free travel from the border to Chicago. When I got to Chicago, I couldn't find gainful employment there, so I thought, what the heck? I'll go to Florida. And then I got to fly to Florida. She was giving free housing, all because the United States paid for that. That's right, you, the taxpayers, got to pay for that. So this was all simply walking across the border. She said it was unbelievable to me. But let me read her quote, because understand, she walked across the border. This was not a stealthful act. And then they gave her free travel, free housing, free food, free medical care. All why people from the hurricane are still waiting for help. Let me read in English, and then we're going to play the video clip she agreed to do if we'd use another name. When I passed through immigration, they sat me down and explained to me all the benefits I was eligible for. I was told I could apply for government assistance. I could apply for health medical insurance for my son, and I could apply for food assistance. After I finished talking to immigration, a short time passed until a DNA test was done on me and my son to prove that he was my son. Then they set me down with other people who were also waiting and had already qualified to be released. Then they explained to us that the documents we had in our hands were our personal identification in the United States, and we could use the documents to travel on buses and airplanes. They also explained to us that we could use those documents to apply for our documents to become legal here. And after that, they explained after they explained all of the benefits, they said, "Welcome to the United States of North America." And from there, they transported us to a refugee camp. And all of this occurred in one day. So welcome to the United States. This is someone who just crossed the border illegally and to commit crime. And they were not only welcome to the United States, but then they were giving all kinds of benefits at the cost of the taxpayer. So let's listen to her in her words, and then we'll move on from there to other topics.
Bueno, cuando pasé, me sentaron, me explicaron todos los beneficios que tenía, que podía recurrir a ayudas del gobierno, podría recurrir a seguros para el niño, seguros médicos, podía recurrir a ayuda para el bebé solamente, ayuda de comida. Y allí, bueno, después que terminé de hablar con las personas, pasó un ratito que me hicieron la prueba de ADN para ver que mi hijo, o sea, no, era mi hijo, pues, para comprobar que era mi hijo. Y después allí me sentaron en unas sillas con las otras personas que habían calificado ese día para salir. Y ahí nos explicaron que los documentos que no estaban en nuestras manos, pues era como nuestra identificación aquí en Estados Unidos, que con eso podíamos viajar en bus, en avión, que con eso podíamos sacar nuestros papeles más legalmente aquí. Y después que nos explicaron todo eso de las ayudas y toda la cuestión, pues nos dijeron bienvenidos a los Estados Unidos de Norteamérica y ya de allí nos llevaron a un refugio y bueno, ahí ya, salimos de migración.
Now understand there are 4 women listed here as human trafficking victims that were smuggled across the border in addition to her. 2 of the human trafficking victims admitted they had to pay off a coyote debt of $6,000. Make no mistake about it, the government is complicit and is aiding and abetting human trafficking in the United States because they're creating an environment for people to start out here at more than they amassed where they came from. In addition to that, there is a wide open border where fentanyl is coming across, and that is encouraged. And as a result of that, we have thousands upon thousands of people dying in the United States. And then the best that our federal politicians can say was, well, it didn't kill as many people this year as last year. I don't even need to comment more about that. All the while, we have people that are suffering, that have not received help yet from the federal government as a result of the hurricanes in North Carolina and in Florida and Polk County. The aid's not come through yet. There are people, irrespective of the hurricanes, in this nation that need help, that need support, but they don't get the support that these folks get for coming across the border illegally. When are we going to get tired of this? When have we had enough? When are we going to say the hardworking people in the United States are who we need to be taking care of? Not creating an environment and encouraging people to come across the border illegally in violation of federal law, and then welcoming them to the United States and showering them with gifts at the taxpayer's expense, while people in our own nation are not receiving what they should receive. And here's the human trafficker we were able to arrest. Travis Hutchinson, he's 25, he lives in Davenport. He was dealing with 2 females, one from Colombia and one from Venezuela. Now the Colombian came to Mexico, to California, and then to here. She was recruited by a coyote who took her to the border and said, all you have to do is walk across. Understand, the coyotes weren't even having to smuggle or hide them in vehicles and bring them across the border late at night. The coyote now rounds you up, takes you to the border and says, walk right through here and go into that processing center. Well, our Colombian victim and our Venezuelan victim of human trafficking met there. And then they were flown from California to Florida. Now, Travis was here. He was talking to the coyote in California who said, I'm sending them to you. And they had to work to pay off the debt. Travis would set up the appointments. They were having to turn as many as 20 tricks a day apiece in order to pay off their debt. So they were paying the coyote's debt off. They were then paying Travis, and he was setting up all of these operations. Oh, they can even use Cash App if you don't have cash. It's amazing to me. So, Travis, when they would refuse or say, I'm tired, I don't want to do this anymore, he would slap and choke one of our victims and threaten them if they did not get out and go back to work. It is exciting. If this operation had only involved his arrest, it would have been a success. But let me go over a few more of the arrest. Now, what would an autumn sweep operation be? What would any of our undercover operations be where we're dealing with human trafficking, prostitution, child predators without Disney? We always arrest Disney employees. This is Eubanus Muta. He's 28 from Davenport. He's a wood carving artist when he's not soliciting prostitution. This is Kyle Widmeyer. He's 20 from Philadelphia. He works as a custodian for Disney. He said he just moved to Florida at the end of September from Philadelphia. Well, Kyle, welcome to Florida. Welcome to Polk County. Welcome to the jail. And there's Juan Albino. He's 35. He's from Haines City. He works backstage utilities. Oh, by the way, he's married and had a wife at home. And of course, being patriotic, people wanting to have sex, there's the military members. Juan Berrio, who's 47. He's a disabled vet. He was born in Colombia. Norrell Cooper from Orlando, Navy Reserve, supply clerk. He's stationed in Jacksonville. Then there's Alejandro Pera, he's 20 from Davie, Florida. He's a paralegal in the Army, stationed in Orlando. You know what he told us? I literally do this at my job, meaning he processes papers for soldiers that are arrested. Well, heck, when he bonds out, he can go process his own paperwork. You know what I mean? And then I always like to point out the loyal husbands who leave their wives or fiancés at home while they have sex. So here's Leanthony Williams. He was arrested on Friday, October the 4th, just before he was to get married on Tuesday, 4 days later. The fiancé was out of town at the time, and hey, he had some spare time on his hands. What can you say? You know, his quote was this, I hope she doesn't find out. Well, newsflash, it's going to be on every station, on social media. You know, she's going to find out. Then there's Jonathan Webster. He came all the way from the UK, from England. He was here on a 2-week vacation with his fiancée, and his fiancée thought he was going to Walmart. Well, it was a Walmart of sort. It was a Walmart of sex, a Walmart to get caught. But Jonathan's fiancée now knows that he wasn't at Walmart. He was at Grady Mart. Dominique Price, 30, from Mineola. His fiancée is pregnant. He told her that he was going to the gym for a little exercise. I guess you could call that exercise. He was arrested on Friday, October 4th, but that's okay. He had 2 days to bond out before the baby was due on Sunday. And then there's always the previous sting arrest. You know, Tommy Thomas, 28, from Haines City, he was arrested in 2019. He said, hey, I had such a great time getting arrested by the sheriff's office and the team of detectives from the police departments. I think I'll go back and get arrested again. So that's what happened. And then Jose Perez says, well, you're not by yourself. I'm 38. I'm from Haines City. And he was arrested in 2017. His wife thought he was at work. Then there's Evans Joseph Jr. He was a prostitute, not a John. He was arrested in 2022 for offering to commit prostitution. And then this was kind of one of my favorites, so I gave him his own card by himself. Darren Sandiardo, he's 43, he's from Brentwood, New York. He's a volunteer firefighter, has been for 25 years. He's here on vacation. He's married with a 5-year-old son, charged with solicitation. So, there you go. But in addition to our human trafficker, if we only made these 3 arrests, it would have been a success. Because you see, in addition to a human trafficking operations, we were also doing a child predator operation. These 3 folks traveled to the undercover location thinking they were going to have sex with a child. That's right, these are what we call pedophile or dangerous child sex predators. Michael Gillis is from Eden Prairie, Minnesota. Now there's a story about that. He was arrested in Minnesota for trying to have sex with a 14-year-old little boy. Not only was he arrested for trying to have sex with a 14-year-old little boy, but he was out on an $85,000 bond from that charge. So he came to Orlando to work as a videographer, and he thought, well, you know, I'm out on bond. Heck, let me go see if I can pick up a 14-year-old in Florida. And that's what he did. He showed up at our operation, and he was promptly arrested again for trying to have sex with a 14-year-old little boy, where he was put in jail on a $72,000 bond and required to have an ankle monitor. Well, you would think Minnesota would revoke his bond and say, hey, if you're out, you've got children at risk. But, you know, he hasn't been to trial yet. They haven't even revoked his bond. Minnesota's not even trying to arrest him. Now, we're working with the police up there that are working very hard to try to get him rearrested on their charges, because after all, he didn't make his October 10th court appearance in Minnesota because he was tied up here. Now he's out on a bond wearing an ankle monitor, and he can't leave the state. So I don't know how he answers to the charges up there until he answers to the charges here. But at the end of the day, he made admissions to us. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the classic example. If these child predators are not locked up, children are in danger. And you would think that he would be afraid or scared or worried from his arrest in Minnesota doing the same thing. He would at least behave for a while. No, he comes right back to Florida, does the same thing. And then there's Ezekiel Mija from Haines City. He's here illegally. So here's an example. I want the current administration, the federal government, to understand, because you encourage, because you don't have any border security, that you are not only allowing but encouraging illegal people to come into this country to commit crime, to include child sex predators. He came here illegally, and his goal was to find a 14-year-old child and have sex with her. And that's what he was trying to do if it weren't for our great detectives that stopped it. They travel, folks. They actually showed up at a strange house in a strange community, in a strange neighborhood, in a strange county to have sex with a child. That's how dangerous. And he told them during his communication with what he thought was a 14-year-old child, you know, I could get in big trouble if I get caught. You think? Oh, by the way, did I tell you he's married with a 7-year-old daughter. And he sent his wife and daughter to North Carolina because of the threat of the storm, and he thought, hey, my wife and daughter are gone, the storm's not here yet, I'll just go see if I can have sex with a 14-year-old little girl. And then there's Brandon Orr, he's 28 from Kissimmee. He tried to have sex with a 14-year-old little girl. Newsflash, he is a lifeguard at Disney Art of Animation Resort. So he gets to be a lifeguard and sit up and look at children all day long while Disney's paying him. Did I tell you he's engaged to be married too? His wife, his future wife, can do what she wants, but I'm just thinking through this. You may want to go try to find you somebody else that's not a pedophile, not a child sex predator, because he's going to prison for a long time. We're going to do our best because our state attorney, Brian Haas, is the very best. His team is the very best. We're going to try to put them in prison for a long time. So I'm going to start with the chiefs, and then we're going to have our NGOs speak to you for just a second.
Good morning. My name is Steve Parker. I'm the Chief of Police for the City of Davenport. And I look at these pictures, and these numbers, for these operations used to shock me. 150, 200 in one operation. But we do them so often now, it's not surprising anymore. But to me, what is surprising is some of the ancillary crimes and the immoral acts that spawn off of these types of things, some of the things that Sheriff Judd talked about. To me, that's what's kind of shocking. I want to thank Sheriff Judd and his team and all of our law enforcement partners here in Polk County and in the entire Central Florida area for participating in this type of operation. These things like this is what we need to bring to the forefront to eradicate this. And these NGOs that stand up here with us, these are the true heroes. These are the ones that stand up here day in and day out and do the hard work. And so we appreciate your hard work as well. Thank you.
I'm Captain Ty Thompson. I'm here on behalf of the Lakeland Police Department. I happen to be the division commander of our Special Investigation Division, who is a participant in this operation, and we'd like to thank Sheriff Judd and the Polk County Sheriff's Office for their proactive stance against crimes like this against our community. I'd just like to say, in addition to that, I know that this operation in and of itself is very labor intensive for those detectives and those investigators and law enforcement officers that are involved in it. Not only were they tied up on a very labor-intensive operation that lasted well into the early morning hours of every night, that required multiple hours of overtime, they also were greeted by Hurricane Milton on the tail end of this. And some of those very detectives and police officers and law enforcement professionals are still out on the streets of this community trying to put it back together. So I'm very proud to be a part of this law enforcement community in this county, and I'm very proud of the men and women that protect this community. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Chief Chris Velasquez with the Lake Wells Police Department, and I'd like to thank each and every one of the people that are here today and all of those that worked in this operation. It was an amazing initiative. When you think about the number of people, the number of staff that it takes to manage and to run an operation like this, it's overwhelming. But with all of the folks that are partnered here today, this is just a snippet of what we do each and every day in this county. We work together hand in hand. It's all about doing the right thing. It's all about serving the public. It's all about providing justice to the victims. Look at all the people up here. It's easy to think that the police could have better things to do. Well, I want to ask each and every one of you and anyone that's out there watching, if you're thinking that we're out here just going after people that are looking for prostitutes and we could be doing other things, ask yourself how you would feel. Ask yourself if it was your son or daughter that was being victimized. So we've got some slow learners, 3 people rearrested. What will it take? I can tell you right now, I could guarantee you that the people that are up here, this isn't their first time. This is their first time maybe being caught. So this is happening every day. Every day, thousands and thousands of people are being victimized. and they're committing these crimes. So we're going to continue until we can do an operation and we get zero, and then we'll still probably try it again just to see what happens. But it doesn't seem like it's going to stop.
Good morning. My name is Jody Domingue. I am the Vice President of Program Operations and Public Policy. I oversee One More Child's direct care services to trafficking survivors in Florida, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Ohio, and also our prevention and legislative efforts nationally and globally. I would like to just offer our sincerest gratitude to the Polk County Sheriff's Office. I would also like to thank the Florida Human Trafficking Victim Fund in partnership with the Florida Sheriff's Association that provided critical resources for this operation. Because of them and our faithful partners at One More Child, we once again were able to be on the ground offering services. These services included advocacy, mental health counseling, lived experience mentorship. You're going to hear from one of our mentors today, translation services, which are much needed, safe shelter, and much, much more. And we offer these services not only to the individuals who are able to be identified immediately as human trafficking survivors, but also those who are not ready to identify, those who are not ready to exit a life of sexual exploitation. What we know is that the majority of people who enter into a life of prostitution are doing so under the age of 18 years old. So what that means is almost every individual who walked through those doors has been a victim at one point and offered very little options for their future. One More Child is committed to providing better options. We are committed to providing hope for a better future. We also know that we are not going to end this problem by identifying victims and providing them exceptional services. That's why One More Child is in full support and collaboration of a bill that will be introduced into the legislature called the Human Trafficking Reduction Act. This bill is going to make first-time buyers a felony. Right now, this is a misdemeanor in the state of Florida. The trauma that is caused by being able to purchase a person's body and do whatever you want to it is far too catastrophic. And the resources expended by the Polk County Sheriff's Office and other law enforcement agencies is far too much to be bound to only charging first-time offenses as misdemeanors. We will not arrest our way out of this problem with misdemeanors. It will also provide a secondary route of justice for trafficking survivors to be able to hold accountable those the players that have profited off of their trauma. It will improve the record relief process for survivors. And finally, it will provide more tools to law enforcement agencies to catch the bad guys, something Polk County Sheriff's Office does better than anybody else. I want to thank Sheriff Judd, the detectives here today, the different partners that we get to partner with for another successful operation. Because of you, bad guys are off the streets. And because of you, survivors now are on their path to healing and have a hope for a better future. And if you are watching this and you have been coerced or forced or convinced that you need to sell your body for profit, I'm here to tell you there is help. There is hope. Reach out to One More Child or any of the hotline numbers that will be provided to you today. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Christina Santiago, and I'm here today as a survivor, leader, and mentor with One More Child Anti-Trafficking Mobile Team. I am honored to stand here today with Polk County Sheriff's Office and with many other amazing organizations that are continuously fighting for survivors to be seen and heard. It wasn't until 2020 when I heard the words human trafficking. I came across a video on YouTube where a young woman was sharing her trafficking story. Much of what she shared, I identified with. It was like a light switch that went off, and I realized that someone out there, miles away from me, walked in similar shoes. I said to myself, my abuse has a name. I went down this rabbit hole and began searching what is human trafficking. Much of my exploitation took place in high school due to having vulnerabilities, which made me a target for exploitation. I was manipulated, groomed, and through coercion, it led to the start of my trafficking. Towards the end of my senior year, I was assaulted, which resulted in an unwanted pregnancy, which I was later forced by my trafficker to have an abortion. As a survivor, my story did not end there. I have spent the last 8 years healing through therapy and support from loved ones. During the last 2 years, I have been given the opportunity to use my experience to better serve other survivors. I am grateful to advocate for other survivors and to use my own personal experience when partnering with law enforcement during these operations. If you are watching this and can identify and are in need of help, please reach out to our organization here at One More Child. The scars from my past serve as a reminder that not only did I experience a difficult situation, but I made it through. Scars are not only a sign of trauma, but they are also a sign of healing. After all, there is no scar until the wound is closed. My scars help others know she gets it. And today, my mess made room for my message, and my purpose is to now serve as a mentor to those who are hurting. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. My name is Katie Parchment. I'm the Resiliency Coordinator for Heartland for Children and also the co-chair for the Human Trafficking Task Force that covers Polk, Highlands, and Hardy counties. First, we would like to extend our gratitude to Sheriff Judd and the many men and women in law enforcement who took part of this operation. The level of compassion, professionalism, and determination to identify victims of human trafficking and their traffickers is unmatched. The gift of working collaboratively with other NGOs and law enforcement to provide immediate intervention and support is a model that is unique to the Polk County Sheriff Department. This collaborative approach fosters information sharing and a broad spectrum of expertise that oftentimes lead to innovative solutions to combat human trafficking. Having the ability to provide a trauma-informed environment when speaking to potential victims allows for enhanced communication and reduced trauma triggers during this process. I'm confident that I can speak for myself and the other NGOs involved that being able to meet and pour into the men and women who we meet during these operations is more rewarding and inspirational than you could ever imagine. Heartland for Children works hand in hand with the Department of Children and Families to provide intervention, services, and support to help protect children at risk of abuse, neglect, or threatened harm. Through services that can help foster behavioral changes and prevention programs to help strengthen families, our mission is to protect children and help support families to self-sufficiency. We understand that sometimes being in this life is a means of survival. There are several free resources available to help people experiencing difficult times. You can reach out to findhelp.org for free resources. The Department of Children and Families Hope Florida program, the Hope hotline number is 1-833-GET-HOPE. United Ways 211. The National Human Trafficking Hotline, 1-888-373-7888. The Florida Department of Children and Families Abuse Hotline, 1-800-96-ABUSE. And then the Florida Human Trafficking Hotline that you can report directly to law enforcement, 1-855-FLA-SAFE. Lastly, I would like to leave anyone currently functioning in survival mode with a few words. You are wonderfully and beautifully made, and don't let anybody else tell you any differently. You are not your past or your current circumstances. Your resiliency will serve as an amazing testimony in the future, so don't give up. Healing takes time and trauma triggers come in waves. However, there are several resources and supports throughout our community that can help you with your healing journey. Take a chance on you and reach out for help because there is several services and referrals available out there to help you through that journey. And even though some days will be hard, you will have to learn a new norm, and your resiliency will help you through and help you to understand that you deserve love, safety, and happiness. Thank you.
We do these operations to save the victims. And we do these operations to save the victims because they're important to us. And ladies, you will never understand just how great you are and what a dynamic process we have now because you join us at every operation, every step of the way, and we can turn these potential victims over to you immediately, not with some bureaucratic paperwork. But I want to close with this. Imagine for a second, a country where we had border security, where we did not spend millions upon millions upon millions of dollars dealing with illegal people coming across the border, the wide open border, welcome with open arms and given resources for just being illegal in our country. Imagine if we closed the border and could take those resources and spend them on the victims of human trafficking. Imagine if we could take those resources and spend them on those that are suffering from mental illness and drug addiction in this country. There is enough money being wasted by the federal government and the executive branch to make a huge dent in the mental health issues, to the drug addiction issues, to the human trafficking victims of this country if we just cut the border off and quit causing not only the federal government to spend, we're not even talking about the trickle down of the additional millions and millions that state and locals are spending that amount to billions. Imagine that we could have a country where we spent that money on people that are citizens here that deserve to have the help that they need, that they can't afford, that their families can't afford. And if we keep doing the same old thing, we're going to end up with the same old problems magnified. The border's wide open. The federal government is a player in the crime that's occurring in this country because of people like these illegals coming here to commit crime. God bless you all. We'll see you at the next operation, and I'll guarantee you we'll be back. If we didn't get you in this operation, we'll get you in the next one. You're on your way to the county jail. You just don't realize it yet. For Santa Claus, ask for money so you can put it in the account when you come to jail.